AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2. Off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Goodwood. Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusu. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. You know the sign of a good leader. You lead by example. Being on time means being early. Going to the top of the hour, and Verge was like, right place? Come on, man. It's like, come on now. So Verge Ausberry's in studio with us. How are you, man? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good, Matt. Usually,
Put that close.
because usually I'm not early. So I don't know how I got out the meeting early, but I just drove straight here.
Well, you've always been on time when you've been on the show, and I appreciate it. Man, you've been a good friend of the show for a lot of years.
Thanks,
all the many times I had to bother you about football schedule, and now we get to bother you about a lot of other stuff too. So we were just talking to the break. You're 4 months in. Based on what you expected the job to be and what you've experienced through 4 months, what do you think?
You know, it's we've been at a fast pace, Matt. I've been there 4 months, and a lot has happened. I don't think no athletic department in the country has ever done 2 major coaches in a 4-month period. But you know, when I took the job, I knew what was entailed in the job, and I knew I had to make some tough decisions. And the good part, the great alignment we have at the institution right now, especially with President Roos, myself, Chancellor Jim Dalton, and the Board of Supervisors, we're in alignment in the decisions we make, and we talk about things. We talk about things, you know, throughout the year, where we are, where we see we're going with things, and you know, how are we going to be as athletic department, how are we going to help the university, those type of things. And with a brand for, you know, not only athletic department, but that brand drives the university.
You mentioned the 2 major hires, Lane Kiffin, Will Wade.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say, Verge, like your major sports on campus are set. Like I can't foresee any changes being made in 3 to 5 years. I mean, like you're not firing Jay Johnson. You're not firing Will Wade or Lane Kiffin, and I think Kim Mulkey's pretty established as well.
Jay Clark. I mean,
Jay Clark's there.
Mm-hmm.
So all that to say, your sports are stable. What's the biggest thing facing you every day right now? What's the number one on your list?
You know, number one is always finances, especially in the new financial models we're in right now with rev sharing and NIL and all just the different things that we deal with revenue. We made some big changes. Those big changes are costly. People don't realize that. You know, you have 2 buyouts there with the coaches that we made the changes with. And then you had buyouts also to bring the new coaches in, and that's just part of the business. And that's why we needed great alignment to make those decisions. You know, I wasn't going to make this decision on my own. I gave my good recommendations to Dr. Roos and to the board, but you know, that's the thing we have to really look at, the financial situation of the department. And we're okay, and we're going to be okay. We're going to hit some bumps here in the next couple of years, but I think, you know, we maintain things the way they are right now. We'll come out on the better end of this.
I'm not trying to unearth an old conversation, but you mentioned the buyouts. And I have a direction I'm going here, but because there's been a big talking point about the $200 million or whatever that LSU's committed, right? I mean, you've seen all the numbers.
It's over a period of time. That's not
exactly. It's over the 7 years of Lane Kiffin's contract and 7 years of Will Wade's. Correct. We all understand that it's not. You don't need that today. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned finances. So, but who does pay for those things?
You know, it's the athletic department. It's Tiger Athletic Foundation, and it's the money we raise, and that's why I realigned the staff and how we do things. You know, we brought Heath in, brought Clay in to to raise funds with us with our multimedia right holder, but also, he's dealing with football primarily and calling me, meeting with donors about the NIL packages, those type of things. Keith has done a great job in basketball so far and leading that up. And Zach is doing Greenwell's doing baseball and I keep slipping.
No, I don't know what's going on with that mic. So can we maybe
baseball and women's basketball, and that's the way we're gonna. And he's gonna also do the strategy of the whole department of how we do this process. But working very close with Tiger Athletic Foundation, Matt Borman and his group. So you don't want to be doubling up on people and hitting up. Matt raising money for something that those guys know that, hey, this is the acts that we have out there for them, but this is what we need in the NIL area. And the NIL and the rev sharing, that's the most important part of our business right now, because that's the way you get to attract players. Until that changes, this is the world we're living in. Matt, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. People complain about it. I hear other ADs talking about the problems we have. But you know what? It's the world we live in, and we have to move forward in it. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the task of going out there and raising revenue. And I'm very active myself in that field. I came from that field, Tiger Athletic Foundation. I understand what fundraising and friend raising is and making those connections. And I tell pretty much everybody in our department, look, you're responsible. You're responsible for the ticket office when you greet and meet the fans, the ticket takers, the ushers in the stadium. You're all part of that fan experience. So when somebody walk up there, I don't care who it is, you treat them with respect. They're our fans, and we're going to give them the best experience they could ever have, because that could be a potential donor. You never know.
Yeah. Is it possible for boosters via donors and ticket prices, fans paying ticket prices, is it possible with those two revenue streams to fund everything?
It's possible to do it that way, but we might need some help. And we're looking at all different models. Do you restructure your debt, things like that? We've had conversations. All of us had conversations with PE firms. They've talked to us, banks, that nature. So we're having a lot of conversations right now. You never say never, Matt, in this day and age. There's some deals out there that people have done that we're not very comfortable with. One thing about Dr. Roos, he's a financial major. He's a guy who's worked on Wall Street and worked with finances throughout the world. He has a good knowledge of that field. And I bounce a lot of things off of him. He tells me a lot of things. This is what we need to do and how we need to do it, and this is how we could do this in the future with some of our rights and things we have. So it's good to have that type of experience sitting in the president's office.
Yeah. PE, of course, would be private equity. And like Michigan State, for example, is a school that's done a private equity deal. And honestly, Verge, at a very superficial level, my understanding is that didn't look great, the one Michigan State did, which might be what you're alluding to there. I'll only speak for you. But why do you think that might be attractive? Like, what could something like private equity do for LSU athletics?
It depends. Utah did it. Some deals
Utah, that's it. Yep.
Utah did. Some things you like. Florida State has been dancing with it. Even the Big 12 conference, the Big 10 conference, the NFL has gone to it now. And it depends on how it looks. And that's the things that we want to make sure that if you dance it with a private equity company, that you don't give up too many of your rights. And you have to have a period where you say, okay, you know what, this is the length of it. And we're not in bad shapes like a lot of athletic departments, Matt. That's the great part about it. We don't have, you look at people $600, $700, $800 million in debt, and that comes from they building new projects. And we pretty much built all the projects we're able to build. And as you know, a lot of now it's private-public partnerships with the new arena. It's not all LSU is going to that $400 million project. The Overview Group is part of that, and hopefully here we get some news here in the future. We've been going back and forth on different details, but to get that new arena. The state of Louisiana, appropriations, they can't help us with that like they used to do. And we're not looking at the state to bail us out. So we got to find ways with public-private partnerships to make things work.
You said like some athletic departments are $800-900 million in debt. Does LSU Athletics have debt?
Well, we have debt. Oh, yes. We have debt.
How much scale to that
right
other
now,
one?
we look at our budget, we're probably about $40-45 million in debt.
Okay, so nothing compared to
not to those numbers. No, not those numbers.
Where are we on the arena?
I think we're in great shape, and I think we're going to have some news here pretty soon. We're going back and forth, and we're all working on it. Our attorneys are working on it to get that built. That's big, not only that's big for the city of Baton Rouge, as you heard. It's big for LSU. It's big for the LSU community. I think that's would be the front push to our university, our institution, and not only the arena, but what comes up around that arena. Yeah. If you look at our institution, other than Darren Rample, which we've done a lot of work on the lakes, there's no true entrance to our campus. And I've visited many campuses around the country, and they have a great interest where our students could go to be safe, enjoy themselves, and also have entertainment in that area. So that's where we are with the arena, and that's a project I think everybody's getting aligned on.
What is the whole man? It's beautiful, Verge. The renderings are beautiful. It'd be great for the city. Our Lady of the Lake has already bought the naming rights or agreed to the naming rights. What is the holdup, man? Like, who do I have to go yell at to get this done?
Well, Matt,
like, can I just start yelling into my microphone at somebody, Verge? Who do I yell at to get this done?
Matt, you like the fans. You want it instantly.
Yes. But it ain't even been instant, man. How long have we been talking about this?
But look, you got to remember, everybody's new in the positions they're in, and they had a change also in their CEO. The new CEO, he wanted to take a look at the project again. The new CEO they hired, he's an interim at the time. You have a new president. You had a new athletic director. You had just new board members. So everybody in this position is now all new. So we wanted to take a step back and look at everything to make sure that it was fiscally responsible for us too. And like we said, we're not going to put nothing out there that's not fiscally responsible for LSU. We've got to protect LSU and protect Tiger Athletic Foundation. So we want to look at everything as a whole and really get a good feel about how it would look. And that's why we just took a break. And nothing's wrong with that. We don't have to, Matt, to rush into things in this day and age. Let's take our time and make sure that we're doing the best thing for LSU, our fans, our donors, and just the LSU community as a whole.
Good catch, man. You fighting that mic.
Mic keeps slipping here.
We're going to fix that.
We got to buy some mics around here.
We're going to fix that in the break. We got Verge. He walked in and said, how much time you got? He said, as much as you need. I said, don't tell me that. I was like, don't tell me you got as much time as you need because I will take all the time we need. But there's a lot of things I want to get to. I do want to talk in detail about revenue share, which you brought up. I do specifically want to talk about baseball. There's a lot of fans that have questions about baseball I want to get to. Want to ask about Will Wade, new basketball coach. Lots of stuff to cover with Verge. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. It's AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling commercial or residential. Think real estate. Think Darren James. Agent225.com. Agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need the best. You need Darren James because let's face it, Darren's the realtor that sells more homes than anybody. And there's a reason. And it's not my opinion. Wall Street Journal Real Trends list. Darren James, number 1 in Louisiana, number 13 in the United States on the transaction side. It's incredible. Well, how does he do it? Because Darren's customer service experience is unmatched. It's unmatched. He likes to compare it to like the Ritz-Carlton. You ever walk into a Ritz-Carlton, you'll get it. How every person who works at a Ritz-Carlton is trained with how they're supposed to interact with their guests to give you the most unforgettable experience. Well, Darren tries to take that same level of customer service to real estate. Need to sell your home? You need Darren James. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
All right, we got Verge a new mic. Hopefully that thing does better for you. Paul, I don't know what we got to do with that other one, man. Tighten a screw or something like that. Verge Ausberry is hanging out with us in studio. One follow-up on the arena. You said we're close. Realistically, are we close like weeks or months or years? I'm not talking about from like open, but from like getting okay, we're moving forward. In a best-case scenario.
Best case scenario, I think it'd be about 3 months. Hopefully about 3 months we have something here more definite, and we're going to try to do it.
Okay, so by the summertime, hopefully. Okay, let's talk about revenue share. When I asked what the biggest thing facing you, you said it's financial. I can't imagine there's anything more complex than revenue share. Is that? Tell me if I'm wrong. Is that fair?
It's fair. The overall budget is some issues there, but the rev sharing is what we have to give, the $20.5 million. It came off of the House case, and it was a split up, 80, 25, 5, how they split it up, football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. That was part of the House settlement. When we looked at it, and most major institutions did, the 75, 15, 5, 5. Right now, we're looking at adjusting that sum on that 5% on the back end and giving more to some other sports and giving probably more scholarships. The scholarship limits changed also in some sports. And most of your international students, they're looking for more scholarships. The track program, the swimming program, they're looking for more scholarships than so say the rev sharing. So we could take some of that rev share money and distribute it with some other sports. And we did that. We're doing that right now for next year. Matt, I've only been in a job for 4 months. All of us has been there about 4 months. Julie Cromer, my CEO, has only been there about 3 months.
Yep.
So we were behind coming in and new coming in. But moving forward, we're going to make sure that baseball, talk about baseball, that their rev share is going up, and we're also going to have more money for them for NIL. I've been meeting with Jay about that. He had some concerns about where we were and things we had to do. And we met this week on that. I want to have those relationships with my coaches. Because my job as AD is to ask my coaches, what do you need? How can I help you win and be successful? We want to win at LSU. And people don't understand winning is hard and difficult, but we can win at LSU. And not just win one year and lose the next year. How we consistently build up to be one of those power brands that we are. And every year we want to be in the top. We're not going to win a national championship and everything every year, but we need to be there. We need to be in the talking. We need to have the conversations, like I tell people. We need to be in conversations about the NCAA and basketball, women's basketball, baseball, football. We need to be in that playoff hunt. That's where we need to be. But it takes time to build that. And the coaches we have, the people we have, the personalities we have, I think we have the best coaches in the country. So, yeah, every school is going to come after us. LSU's the hunted. And you can't get comfortable and, okay, we hired all these great coaches. Now, how we support these great coaches and how we support these great staffs they're putting together, and how we support these student athletes that we're bringing in. I want my coaches not to say, okay, we couldn't get a player because we couldn't afford this. No, we don't want that. We want to, I want you to make sure that you have the best players, the best talent, the best coaches, the best staffs to be out there able to win. And it's costly. It's going to cost us a lot. And that's what we're fighting with our overall budget. I said earlier, we just can't keep going to TAF to bail us out. And they've done a great job over many years, 10 years, the tune amount of money they've given us to bail us out. And, they're going to their donors. They're knocking on every door about every day. Let's help the athletic department. But we know we have to be smart about the things we do from this point on out.
Is it realistic to be in the rev share era to compete for national championships in every sport?
I don't think so. I think you have to be very smart on how you do it. I think there's a special talent in a sport that you might say, okay, you know what? Could we do something here with NIL dollars to do it to get this person here? None of our 10 programs right now that's competing are ranked in the top 25. That's pretty good as a department. You look at our golf, you look at our tennis teams, they rank very, very high. Beach volleyball, they've done very, very well. Even softball, we're in a great position. But to say that we could spread the money over everything right now, that's not going to happen. I don't think nobody in the country is saying that. You're seeing a lot of movement take place around the country in some sports. You're seeing basketball coaches leaving some Power 4 teams, going to some mid-majors. You're seeing a lot of movement going on right now in the business, and I think you'll see more and more of that. And, we have to sit down every year, all of us put our heads together, like, what are we going to be great at? It's no different from a university. What programs are you going to be great at? You can't be great at everything anymore because the money's just not there, and nobody has the money. People talk about these rich programs, Texas A&M. Everybody's in the same boat right now.
We know LSU's got to be great at football. That's the non-negotiable. There's just no option.
It pays all the bills.
It pays all the bills. Mm-hmm. It is it's just everyone understands that. Like, full stop, period. You're going to be great in football. You're going to invest what you have to. What else is the priority to be great in at LSU?
We have to be great in men's basketball. We have to be great in
Why
baseball.
do you have to be great in men's basketball?
I just think that's a sport that is a revenue generator for us. We talk the TV contracts and the ticket sales. It's about a $9 to $10 million revenue generator for us right now. So we think we could up that and do better there. And we did a lot of surveys and a lot of things we've done, research we've done, trying to figure out where we could grow financially. And men's basketball was that area where we were underachieving at. And I think with the new arena coming online here later in the future, I think that really helps us where we could grow revenue. Baseball is another place where we could grow some revenue. Right now, Jay is the highest paid coach in the country, and that changed our forecast there. But eventually, that's another program where we could grow at. And look, you're very lucky in today's age. You have 3 sports that can make a profit. And though Jay and them read by a little bit, it's still a positive because a lot of programs have big deficits in that sport. And we've done well to have 3 sports to make a profit and one very close to making a profit. In other sports, they understand, women's basketball, they don't have the big TV contracts. The TV contracts are the things that carry most of your sports. And they don't have that, but what they have is they have an unbelievable brand. And that brand is Kim Mulkey. And that brand draws a lot of attention to LSU. Some people love her, some people don't. But that brand she has, she's very important to us. You look at the young women who've applied to come to LSU, and they talk about, women's basketball and what it's done. 6,000 to 8,000 people have, applicants to the institution. That's a big part of Kim's brand, national brand. And I walk on campus, you talk to students from Chicago, from New York, from Connecticut, coming to LSU. And that's the way LSU, out-of-state tuition, that's the way we're going to have to help institution make revenue also. So you have a coach with those type of brands that we have, and I think you look through Jay Clark, you look through all other coaches, we have great name coaches and great brands. And we have national championship coaches across the board. Don't forget a guy like Dennis Schaefer. Guys won national championships here. You look at our golf team coach, they won national championships here, and now they're all competing at that level. So it could be done. It's tricky. Use scholarships a little bit. You have to lose revenue a little bit and see if there's a special talent. In some programs where they're not producing where you think they're capable of producing, you might say, this year we're going to make some changes there. You have to invest in the programs where we think we could win at. So you have to be smart about it.
I think one important clarification point that we talked about in the last segment that maybe I didn't clarify when you were talking about investing in the scholarships. So the rev share, the 20.5, part of that, the House settlement, is universities or athletic departments can commit $2.5 million of that rev share for scholarships, right?
That's correct.
And so in every athletic department, major athletic department is going to do that. So really the 20.5 is actually 18 going to the players, correct. Right? So when we talk about 75% for football, it's 75% of 18 million, not of 20.5. So it does adjust those numbers a little bit. Now, you're talking about women's basketball, and one thing I hear often, Verge, is women's basketball loses $8 million a year. Why not take more of that money and give it to baseball? That's one thing I hear from our fans. What would you say to that fan who argues that?
Right now, coming in the next year, the year coming up, women's basketball and baseball are probably about the same number, about 5% each other.
Okay, of revenue share.
Yeah. Like I said, I've only been on the job for a month, so it wasn't that way before. We're going to do that. But at the same time, we really helped baseball. We called front loading some money. We did with them, and we raised a lot of money for baseball. So we caught them up. Matt, my job is the coach, going to let me know what he or she needs to be successful and the price. And as I said, there's not going to be a player out there that the coach tells me, well, we couldn't get him because we couldn't afford him or her. Now the coach has to know, hey, this is the limit. I think this is the max, the worth of this person, and how much we should, go out and try to get this person.
That's an important distinction.
Then you let us know that. It's bottom line. You could have, I watched a lot of people buy and spend a lot of money this year on a lot of teams, and the outcome wasn't that good. If I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, you spent $22 million, what is reported out there. I'm sitting there like, that's $22 million. I'm not too happy as the athletic director, and the president and all of us will be looking like, well, how did we spend our money and where did we spend it on? And a lot of young coaches have to realize that this is a trap also, because with that money, with rev share and NIL, there's great expectations on the back end of that also, in the world we live in today. So if we giving you that type of money, you telling us these are the players that I need to be successful, then that production also better be there too. It needs to be there for us to win. And we're going to help you get there. We're going to be behind it and pushing it and do everything we can to make sure that you have the right people in place to win.
So baseball is going to go closer to 5% rev share. And the rev share number goes up next year, by the way, as well. So for baseball to get to 5%, you have to take from somewhere else. Or are you at liberty to say where that money's going to come from?
We're probably going to fund 7 sports next year with the rev share numbers. That's where we're going to be at. And
football, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, I would guess softball, gymnastics.
Softball, gymnastics.
Okay.
That's how we're going to look next year. And And we meet with all the coaches now. They understand where they are in that process, and we're going to work with them on scholarships. Like a lot of kids, especially international kids that come into a lot of our sports, you have 500 student athletes in the department. 100 of those young men and women are international kids. They're looking for more scholarships, and it's hard. It's very hard to pay them an NIL and a rev share because they're not American citizens. So the scholarship part comes into play there. We give a lot of sports more scholarships to help them in that area so they can keep their sports at the level they need to be at.
Makes sense.
And that's the communication that we're having with our coaches. We're talking to them, hey, look, what do you need? Now you come there and you say, okay, you have this great athlete, one of a kind, and we need to do something for them. Then we're going to work on that. I mean, we're not saying that other sports can't have NIL and won't have NIL, but we're going to work on helping them get to where they need to be.
Verge, what's the timeline to, because that's a fiscal budget, right? So if you're going to 75% for football, if it goes baseball, that's fiscal. So that's like the 26-27 school year. Like when do you have that finalized?
We're doing that right now, close right now. Yeah, we finalized that, and that's why I realigned the department. That's what I was looking at doing. I don't want it to be a surprise to the coaches at the end of their seasons, at the end of the year. I want everybody to kind of know where you think you need to be. Give me the benchmark numbers, where we need to be, where you think you need to be, coach, to be successful next year. And every coach should have that pretty much in their heads, like, this is what the street is talking about. This is the market right now out there, and that's what we need to be. So that's why I have people that's really centralized to a sport. I want to run like a front office. The days of the old athletic departments where you just sit there hand out papers and hand out checks and talk about budgets, that day doesn't exist anymore. No, we have to be out there. We have to be on the forefront. We have to be aggressive in that area. That's why I want to be aggressive in there. We've got to be raising funds and talking to our coaches daily about, hey, where do you think this is going to be? How does this thing going to look in the future? Don't come to us during the year and say, hey, I'm short, I needed this, or, and look, we'll work with you, but I want you to be, proactive. I don't want to be reacting to everything we're doing in the department. That's not the way to run the department anymore.
Yeah. Can we do another one?
Yes.
All right, let me break. I want to come back because I want to talk specific football. And I do have one follow-up on Jay Johnson specifically. So we'll talk football with Verge. When we come back, Verge Ausberry's in studio with us. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. You know where they are. Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Don Moore, Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Y'all, weather is beautiful right now. What a day today. 78, sunny, gorgeous. What an opportunity to get out and just plant something. Get in your garden, man. Get your hands in the dirt. Touch grass. Do something fun with the family. Plant a vegetable garden with your kiddos. What a great learning experience that is for them. Is there anything better than garden-to-table vegetables? Well, you could do that with Johnny Naylor Seeds. They got them at Clegg's Nursery. Hey, look, and if you're trying to keep the pests away, anthills are popping up, weeds growing in your grass, you need to get rid of mosquitoes. They've got the Aeon Mosquito Eradicator we tell you about all the time as well. You can get it all at Clegg's. So bypass the big box store and support great local retailers. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
We appreciate LSU Athletic Director Verge Ausberry for sitting in with us. Told me he's got time, man. I'm gonna keep him here. All right, I want to ask specifically about Jay Johnson, who made some comments last week that got a lot of people's antennas up when he was asked about Tony Vitello in Major League Baseball. His answer was a bit unsettling for people, but he said, I'm not interested for now, when he was quick to clarify for now, meaning that door maybe not be shut entirely. You said you talked to Jay this week. What were those conversations like?
Matt, Jay and I have a very, very good relationship. He was one of the people that I was in the interview room with. We interviewed the baseball coaches, and that was the best interview I ever sat in. Out of college football, all the football coaches that we've been part of, basketball, any coach you name, Jay Johnson is one of the best. I mean, he has what it takes to win here, and we're gonna make sure that LSU Jay Johnson is always the #1 baseball coach in the country. That's not a problem. Guys, they have that itch sometimes to go on to the majors, to the NFL. Nick Saban did it, but we're gonna do everything in our power here. Myself, President Roos, and the rest of our team, to make sure Jay Johnson gets what he needs to take to win in college baseball.
Yeah. Let me ask you about Will Wade. This was a coup, pulling this thing off. And you mentioned alignment from the board. We know Lee Mallett's interest in Will from being Southwest Louisiana. In Dr. Roos, obviously with McNeese. Verge, how did that come together with all of you, the governor, who Will mentioned as well? How did that come together with all of you to pull this off?
That was a quick process, and he was the only target. Yeah, it was, and the president and I talked. He asked me what I thought, and I thought where we were as a basketball program, that Will Wade was the only one that made sense. He's the only one that would bring excitement back to our building. We needed some excitement into our building. I talk about apathy in some of our other programs, and football, when it happened, we lost to Texas A&M that night, and what I saw in that stadium, I had the same feel in basketball. I was sitting there, I was watching, I was pulling. You never pull. You pull for your coaches to win. But when I sat there and looked at it, I'm like, the building is empty, and we need to be better than that in basketball. The only time we ever been consistent for a long run is the Dale Brown era. Dale did a great job winning SECs, Final Fours, those type of things. And then you had the John Brady era where, he went to the Final Four. But, over the long haul of LSU basketball, it's not like we were a big basketball school or basketball program. I think Will Wade gives you that chance to be that consistently every year in the NCAAs and every year competing. Like I said, a Sweet 16, LSU should always be there. Going back to the Dale Brown era, the great players he had, I think Will does that. I think Will does that in recruiting. I think Will does that with our fan base. We have about 3,000 people that requesting tickets already.
Okay, the number's up to 3,000. Okay.
Right now.
I know in the first 24 hours, I talked to the folks at the ticket office, and Brian told me, Broussard told me it was 700 within 24 hours. It's up to 3,000.
3,000 right now. So
wow.
That's what Will Wade does. That's what Lane Kiffin does. We have 44,000 people on the waiting list for football. And that's the excitement you want around your program. That helps you with raising money, NIL. That's one of the reasons I wanted to hire Heath, because I think Heath brings a new vision to us, especially getting in new areas, new markets, and that Southwest market to raise funds and raise money. And he's done a great job so far, and we're going to need it. We have some coaches with big personalities, and they want to win. But you know what, though? That's what LSU is supposed to be about. Coaches with great personalities and big personalities and wanting to win and talk about winning championships. That's where we have to be at LSU. That's where we want to be at LSU. The people who started me in the business, the Skip Bertmans, those guys, that's where we need to be as a program. We expect to win championships and win and compete and be that brand.
There was a report, I believe it was on 3, that the promise to Will Wade was $12 to $15 million annually for his roster budget. Do you know, or can you confirm that report?
No, there was no report on that. That never happened. And people are saying a lot of things out there. We're going to take whatever it takes for him to get the team here. We're going to do that. And that's what we're working on to get there. But there was no promises made of this is a number. And, Will talked about that. He's going to do whatever it takes to get the right team in here and to win.
When you mention structure, so Heath, of course, is Heath Schroyer, who comes over from McNeese. You mentioned Clay, who's Clay Harris. You mentioned Zach Greenwell. Realigning the staff is the way that you said it. Is it fair to say, or am I accurate in saying, so each of those people are effectively acting as the fundraiser for that specific sport?
Correct. Working with TAF. We have to work with TAF. This is what we don't want. We don't want to communicate very clearly. So let's say if TAF is coming out to Matt Moscona for a donation, and already have talked to him about a donation. You got the money. You don't have good mics.
Hey, man, they can come for a donation. It ain't going to be a giant donation. They can ask.
If they go to you for a donation, we don't want one of them doubling up, hitting them on something that might be to ask already. So they might go to TF and say, hey, look, where we are with Matt. You might say, well, we're asking him for $1 million on this project, but is that project important at this time? You say, even though NIL might be more important, well, let's do that. And each sport also have their sports administrators. Like I said, Julie Crone, my CEO, she's a sports administrator for football. CFO, Matt Laborde, he's going to be doing football scheduling now also.
Okay.
I want him to concentrate on the budget. It's so important right now to us. You have about $235 million budget. You add TAF in there, it's about another $50 million. So I want to make sure that Matt Laborde is concentrating and focusing on that in football scheduling. And, you talk about women's basketball. Miriam Segar is going to still handle that sport. In baseball, going to be Dan Gaston. He's a sports administrator. He's also over our facilities and operations and those type of things. So people have other responsibilities. I just want to have people, like I said, we talked earlier about what do the coaches need. I don't want to be surprised at the last minute, well, we didn't get what we need to have the right team or the right person or the right people. So, no, you are there, you know the number, you're communicating with the coaches daily to make sure that they're getting the right numbers they need to be successful.
Let's talk football. You played football, you were over football scheduling for 20 years.
Long time.
Football, I think it's fair to say, you don't have to say, but fair to say football is your baby, and it should be. Mm-hmm. Lane Kiffin comes in. There have been numbers out there of $40 million for the roster. Is that accurate?
I don't know. I don't know the exact number. That's one thing out of those numbers. I talk a little bit about it, but it's a high number. Mm-hmm. He did what it took to build that team. Yeah, and we told him you have to build the team. You bring in 50 new players. That's a lot of players.
It's more than that, man, with the transfers and the freshmen.
And hopefully now that once you get people in there, it's building that culture where there's people not leaving every and every year. They're here. They want to be here. I think anytime you have a coaching change, these type of things happen. But I think what we're doing is trying to improve the roster. People talk about, well, were we a good team or not? I say, I don't know. We had 11 guys go to the NFL Combine, and we finished 7-6. So something's not right with that picture. There's a cultural problem when those type of things happen. We haven't had that many people go to the Combine in a long time. So the thing we want to do now is we want to build a team, a tough team, a physical team. When you go to practice, you see that. The conditioning is part of the practice. They only practice for an hour and 45 minutes, but they get after it. It's a tough practice. So that's what we wanted the LSU to get back to. The strength and conditioning program is back to where it needed to be when you brought Nick Savage in here. And as I said, you're talking to some of these coaches, it's not a long interview process. You know what they could do. They're workers. I'm not sitting up there asking Lane, what plays you're going to run on 3rd and 5. I'm not asking Will Wade, what zone defense you're going to run. I ask Jay Johnson, what pitchers you're going to use. I ask Kim Mulkey about, she's going to play man or zone. Those people at the top, they're the top in their business. Jay Clark and all those coaches, they're the top in their business. So when you're AD, you just sit back and say, hey, look, you're there to support and help. First, the student athletes. They're the actors. The coaches are the producers. And we're the financiers. We're in the background. I don't want to take the credit for anything. I want those people to have all the credit and represent that brand, that tiger you see behind you, LSU.
Is it possible to do for football financially with what LSU did this year? By LSU, I mean the entity, right? Is it possible to do that every year?
You don't want to do that every year. And that's what I said. With the transfer portal next year, you hope that you've built relationships and a culture in that program where you don't have all the people transferring out. And you see the great programs, the programs that win. You look at Indiana, you look at Michigan, you look at Ohio State, you look at these schools who've been winning consistently lately. Their rosters are not turning over every year. And that's, you have a new coach, new expectations, the roster is going to change over. And some of the players, you wanted to upgrade because we wasn't where we needed to be, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. So we wanted to upgrade those positions, and that's what we did. So hopefully next year, the football coaches, they have relationships with these young men, and you say, okay, you know what? These are the guys we want to keep. And these are the guys, we might want to make a change in the position. It's going to happen now with the new way, the new age we're living in. Those type of things are going to happen, and it's hard expectations, and it's the pressure to win. But I don't think you have to unload 50 players again and 50 new players. You have to pick and choose. When you're in the portal, you have to be careful, too, what you're getting in the portal. People realize that the portal is the lifesaver. You have to be very, very careful. Michigan's basketball team, they really did great this year in the portal. 5 new starters in the portal. And the guy's won in 2 years there. He did a great job of winning and what he did in building that team. So when you get them out the portal, you get the transfers. I always say you have the freshmen, that's your rookies. You have your core, that's the guys that you kept. And you have your free agents. And now you have to blend all that together. I tell people all the time, people in the professional sports get paid a lot of money. The New Orleans Saints, those guys make a lot of money. They have a big payroll down there. Yeah. They haven't been to the playoffs. So a lot of guys get paid a lot of money. But it's how you build that team and the culture of that team and the chemistry of that team to be successful.
Playoffs. I remember sitting there front row when you were introduced and you said LSU's got to be in the playoff every year. Is this team capable of being in the playoff? You've seen them practice. What you think?
I have a good feeling about it. I have a good feeling about this team. I have in 2019 when Joe Burrow and them were here, I had that, this team here is special.
Don't tell me that, man. Don't you tell me that, Verge.
And I'm not going to promise, I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on them that they're going to be the national champion, but I think they have an opportunity here to do some good things. I think defense is ahead of the offense right now. I talked to Coach Kiffin today about that. And Blake Baker, we kept the continuity on the defense side of the ball. And you saw a lot of players stay. Corey Raymond stayed. All those cornerbacks stayed.
Yeah.
And everybody in the country wanted those cornerbacks, okay? He has a great group of cornerbacks back there. Safeties, the linebackers stayed. You added some people on the D-line. You brought some people anyway to build up the defensive line. But that's what I said, the culture of the program. You have the consistency in the coaching staff that helps with the culture of keeping guys here where you're not fighting in the transfer portal year after year after year.
Verge Ausberry, you get an open invitation. Anytime you want to come visit, you don't even need to knock on the door. Just walk in. Just interrupt me.
Thanks, Matt. I really enjoy this. I really want to, talk to our fans out there. We want to be transparent in the athletic department. That's one thing I said when I got the job. We're going to be transparent. People are going to know what we're doing and where we're going, our donors, our supporters, the people giving, our ticket holders.
Yep.
I want them to know what we do in our athletic department. There's no secrets.
Well, we're happy to have the conversation anytime, and we appreciate the your time and the availability and the access today. So thank you so much for – you told me you walked in the door, you said, as long as you want. I'm like, come on, man. We'll talk. Thank you, Verge. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Matt.
it.
Appreciate you.
All right, it's After Further Review. We'll wrap up hour number 2 next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Glow Resources, GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com. They're complete employer solutions over at Glow Resources. So think of it this way. You're a business owner. You need the right people. We just got done having that conversation about having the right people in your business, your organization. You need the right people to be the most efficient, most profitable you can be. Glow Resources helps you find those people. This is not a temp staffing agency, okay? They're looking for permanent solutions, and they guarantee their results. If Glow Resources hires an employee for you, and for whatever reason it doesn't work, they will give you a prorated refund, or they'll find you another employee for free. So what do you have to lose? You want to be more profitable. You want to be more efficient. You want to have the right people in your organization. Glow Resources can help you do it. Check them out online. Home base is Baton Rouge, but they help businesses all over the country. GLO, glowresources.com, glowresources.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
And thanks again so much to Verge Ausberry for taking the time. That was supposed to be one segment by phone. He came in studio and spent an hour with us. Hey, we're brought to you by Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. They're open, knocking off of work. Get on by Supper Club, man. Don't cook. Don't cook tonight. Call your significant other. Hey, don't cook tonight. Meet me at Supper Club. Hey, we don't have a reservation. Doesn't matter. Open seating at the bar, 14 bar stools, 7 bar tables. But listen, if you're celebrating something, you know you have something coming up, anniversary, a birthday, graduation, promotion, family member coming in town, you want to celebrate a special night, get by Supper Club. Or the night you go to Supper Club is the occasion. SupperClubbTR.com, SupperClubbTR.com. Where did Will Wade go the night he got back in town? Supper Club. SupperClubbTR.com. Supper Club. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Muse, Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, Paul Skeens, 6 1/3 dominant innings for the Pirates on Tuesday night. Gave up an earned run, walked 2, struck out 6. He got another win. 7 runs scored by the Pirates.
What?
Paul Skeens is 2-1 on the year. I think it took him all the way to July last year to get 2 wins. He's already there in 3 starts. How about Kevin Gausman? Turned in a pretty good outing, just wasn't good enough against the defending champion Dodgers. 5 1/3, 3 earned, struck out 5. Did get a little bit of a tough luck loss there. But the ERA is sparkling at 2.08. I'll go to the hardwood here real quick in the NBA. Naz Reid, really effective night for him, and the Timberwolves win. 24 minutes, 17 points, about 70% from the floor. That's pretty good. 2 rebounds and an assist rounded out his night. The Pellies will wrap up their regular season with the Timberwolves this weekend. And then Tari Eason turned in 12 and 7 off the bench. 31 minutes. Probably should have just started for the Rockets, and they got the dub as well. That's Tigers in the Pros.
There's value in coming off the bench.
There is. He was
rotation.
He was plus 29 last night with Tari Eason.
That's good. Hey, we're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. They'll come spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. Home, office building, church, school, doctor's office, gymnasium, or workout facility. You get that sweat odor? Call Parrish Restoration. They'll come spray. It'll knock out all the odor from sweat, pets, smoke, and, of course, help sanitize your space as well. ParrishRestoration.com, ParrishRestoration.com. Just go to the homepage, fill out the form on the homepage. They'll get you that quote. It's cost-effective. It's more effective, more efficient. It's Parrish Restoration. ParrishRestoration.com. All right, y'all. Been a good show so far. Shea Dixon was here in hour number 1. We talked some Cruton. Thanks to Verge Ausberry for hanging out with us here for really all of hour number 2. Still a ton of ground I want to cover. Ross Jackson's going to be here in 20 minutes. The Saints picked up Brian Brzez's fifth-year option, so we're going to get to that with Ross in about 20 minutes from right now. One thing we didn't touch on yesterday after Lane Kiffin met with reporters was the running game. We'll get to that next on AFR.
AFR.
Trust isn't given, it's earned. And just like LSU baseball earns its success pitch by pitch, inning by inning, FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake providers, earn trust every day. As LSU's championship health partner, Our Lady of the Lake cares for the defending national champions, keeping the Tigers healthy, strong, and ready to perform all season long. From the bullpen to the batter's box, from the training room to the classroom, LSU baseball athletes trust the Lake to help them recover, perform, and stay at their best. And it's not just for athletes. From sports medicine to pediatrics, heart care to recovery from everyday injuries, Our Lady of the Lake brings championship-level care to families across Louisiana. So, trust the team that cares for the team you love. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU. ololrmc.com/LSU.